Kidnapped Santa by Analynn Riley. Chapter 10, Colors. "Bedtime," Mum announced. While we were getting our pajamas on, Grandma was explaining to everyone that one of her clients said we could use his private jet and pilot. Wow! He owned his own jet! Now I knew the plan was really going to work. We would drive to Calgary in the morning to catch the plane. It would take a few hours to get to Flin Flon, Manitoba. I prayed the weather would be clear for flying. What we didn't need now was a snowstorm. Maybe one of the Chinook winds could blow in warmer temperatures. That night, we kids dropped into our beds exhausted. While I was falling asleep, I realized that I didn't need to finish the posters. The plan had changed, and that was okay. I was sure I hadn't slept a wink when I heard barking. The dogs had arrived. The man who owned the kennel where Yuki came from told Grandpa to borrow Yuki's sister and 4 brothers to help out. They were supposed to arrive first thing in the morning, but it was still night, wasn't it? I crawled out from under the quilt. Sunlight was peeping through the blinds. I was out of bed in a flash. I met Liam, Lauren, and Makenna, who were racing down to Grandpa's workshop. "The dogs are here," Lauren whispered, with the biggest smile on her face. She really loved animals. She particularly loved Yuki, and now she would meet his family. We all charged into the workshop and were stunned, paralyzed at what we saw when we turned on the lights. 5 more dogs identical to Yuki. The workshop looked more like a barn with ponies in it. The dogs froze too. They stared and stared at us. I was glad to see they were in metal kennels because I wasn't sure these dogs were friendly. Yuki was in the workshop also. He went from kennel to kennel, sniffing and sniffing each dog. His super huge tail was wagging back and forth, even though some of his brothers snarled at him. Then we saw it. The sleigh was painted gold, silver, and red. It had golden swirls on it, and silver sleigh bells, and a red velvet seat with red cushions. It sparkled so brightly that I had to rub my eyes to be sure I was seeing what I was seeing. I tried to speak, but no words came out. Liam whispered, "Our parents must have been up all night painting. Wow!" My eye caught something moving underneath Yuki's blanket on the floor. It moved again. I nudged Liam with my elbow and pointed to the blanket. We stood absolutely still, watching. The dogs stood still too, sniffing and staring at the quilt. Before our very eyes, 4 elves crawled out from beneath the blanket. "Greetings," the colorfully dressed mini-persons said with twinkling eyes and cheery faces. "Glad to finally meet you. Hi, Lauren. Hi, Liam. Hi, Makenna. And you must be Luke. Hello to you, too." Each elf shook our hands. The dogs were as surprised at the unusual guests as we were. Yuki's siblings didn't growl or bark, but their tails weren't wagging either. "Who are you?" My voice squeaked out. "Who are they, you brain-dead? They're elves, dimwit. Can't you see that?" Lauren was even snappier than she had been last night. "Lauren, we know Luke doesn't believe in Santa Claus or in us. 10-year-old boys can be like that." The elf turned to me. "So, Luke, still think we're myths?" I shook my head. I didn't know what to believe now. One thing I knew for sure, though, was that Grandpa only had red and black paint. He didn't have any gold or silver. Did you, elves, paint the sleigh last night?" I was stuttering. "Yep. Why? Is there something wrong with our paint job?" No, it's incredible. I was studying again. "Don't pay any attention to him," Lauren informed the elves. "We know you elves painted the sleigh, and it's the most wonderful, beautiful sleigh in the whole world." Liam was gliding his hand over the freshly painted birch. "It's so smooth. Feels like real gold." "It is real gold," one elf corrected. "Only the best for the boss." "Are you going to help us save Santa Claus?" Makenna asked. Liam was walking around the other side of the sleigh and must have got too close to one of the kennels because the dog inside started barking. Only one dog was barking, but it echoed in the workshop, sounding a zillion times louder. We all jumped. One of the elves pointed at the dog, and the barking stopped instantly. And a good thing, too, because our parents were still in bed. "You do magic!" exclaimed Liam, astonished. "Of course elves do magic," Lauren chided. "We want to help you save Santa Claus," said a second elf. "What we want to know is, will you help us?" "Yes, yes," volunteered my sister and cousins. "How about you, Luke? Are you willing to lend a hand?" I was really confused now. First, I thought Santa Claus was a myth, and because he was a myth, then his elves were myths also. But if these elves were real, then did that mean that Santa was real too? I don't know. I didn't mean to say that, but that's what slipped out of my mouth. "Don't you believe that we are real elves?" asked the smallest one of the magical quartet. "I don't know," I bumbled. "How can we help you to believe that we are what we are?" the four elves all asked at once. I could only blink and blink. I didn't know what I believed or didn't believe anymore. What really bugged me was that everyone, including all 6 dogs, stared at me, waiting for my answer. I knew I had to say something. "Maybe if you answer a few questions, I can believe," I stammered. The elves nodded. I asked my first question. "Did you really paint this sleigh?" "Yes," the elves said. "Would you like us to show you how to change its color?" "All right," shouted my cousins in unison. "Quiet! Parents still sleeping." I reminded them that our parents might not be happy about being wakened by us when there was a big day ahead. "Give me a color," one elf said. Lauren called out purple. In the same time as it takes to wink, the sled was purple and gold and silver. Liam called out orange, and the sleigh was instantly orange, gold, and silver. Maybe I was dreaming all this. What was odd was that as soon as that thought sprinted through my head, Yuki came over to me and started licking my hand. His tongue was so big that my hand got very wet very quickly. Now I knew for certain that this wasn't a dream. "Okay, I believe you have some kind of magic that paints sleighs. You said I could ask questions." I wasn't entirely convinced that these elves were really Santa's elves from the North Pole. "Fire away," the tallest elf smirked. "How did you get here?" I asked. "Easy question. We flew." "Sure you did." I wasn't going to believe that for a second. As if reading my mind, one of the shorter elves said, "You may not believe us, but we need your help, Luke. Unless all 4 of you believe in all 4 of us, our magic is limited to paint jobs and a few tricks here and there. Definitely not enough to save Santa Claus." The elf moved closer towards me. "Watch this," he said as he slowly raised his hand that had the smallest fingers ever. He waved his hand gently through the air, and as he did, the big birch sleigh started floating. I blinked and blinked again to make sure my eyes weren't fooling me. The sleigh was clearly floating. Liam, Lauren, and Makenna gasped. They were so excited by all this. I don't know why, but suddenly tears came to my eyes. The last thing 10-year-old boys do is cry, and they never ever cry in front of their sister or other girls. But I couldn't help it. I suddenly remembered being only 3 years old and wishing on the star that sat on top of our Christmas tree. I had closed my eyes as hard as I could and had wished Santa Claus would bring me a toy fire engine. I had wished so hard and squeezed my eyes closed so tightly that when I opened them, I saw all different colors floating. I blinked the colors away. That Christmas, I got a red fire truck. Then I remembered being 5 years old. I still believed in Santa. That year, I had written him a letter and told him I had been a good boy. I asked Santa to bring me a new 2-wheel bike. "You got that bike," said the elf wearing green stripes, "didn't you?" The elf moved even closer to me. "Can you read my mind?" I was getting a little scared. I quickly wiped the tears from my eyes. "So, I got a new bike. That doesn't mean that a mythical Santa brought it to me. My mom and dad bought it. They got me the red fire truck, too." The elf was standing right beside me now. He was as tall as my shoulders. "Yes, Luke, your mom and dad did want the bike for you, but they weren't able to get it." "What do you mean?" I asked. "If you remember, that was the year your mother was very sick. Her medical bills used up all the savings. When you made your wish on the Christmas tree star, we helped make the wish come true. But I know Santa didn't bring it down the chimney and do all that other stuff like eat the cookies and drink the milk. I know Mom and Dad must have gone out and bought the bike. I just know it." My mind spun as I vaguely remembered something Mom and Dad had said one night after they came home from Christmas shopping back then. "Well, Luke, someday you'll have to ask your mother how she got that bike." The elf stepped away. "Time to get a move on. Grown-ups will be coming to see the dogs before too long." "What's wrong if the grown-ups see you?" Makenna asked. "We don't let grown-ups see us. Most of them don't believe in us, and that zaps away some of our magical powers." The small elf was speaking again. The other elf, who had read my mind, put his hands on his hip and said, "Okay, gang, this is our plan." I was listening hard. "We need one of you to be Santa Claus, just until we get the real Santa back." The elf looked at all of us. "Luke, it has to be you. You're the only one tall enough and strong enough to drive this sleigh with the dog team." "Me? What's wrong with Liam?" I whined. "I would do my very best," Liam said earnestly, wanting ever so badly to be the substitute Santa and drive the sleigh. The elf smiled kindly at my cousin. "You'd make a fine Santa if we had the reindeer, but with these dogs we can't take a chance. They've never pulled a sleigh or flown before." "Flown?" Makenna and Lauren cried with anticipation. "Yep. We're going to make these oversized canines fly." The elves were chuckling to themselves. "What if I say no to driving the sleigh?" I asked. "Then Santa will probably die. We think the plan is a good one, but every plan can stand a little magic." "How do you know about the plan?" "We saw Lauren and Yuki on the net. We didn't answer through the computer in case Monsieur Gâteau Fruitier hacked in. We thought it was better to get our butts here as fast as possible. So, presto, we flew in last night." "Amazing!" Liam exclaimed. "I may not be as strong or as tall as Luke, but I think I could handle those dogs if you elves are with me." The tall elf went over and patted Liam on the back. "You're a good lad with a good heart. I'll remember you always, Liam. But if Luke doesn't believe in us, the mission will fail." 13 pairs of eyes stared at me. Something inside me said that I should do it, but my mind wasn't sure. I could hear movement upstairs. Adults. I had to decide now. I wanted to do the right thing, but I didn't want to be a fool. "Well, Luke, what's your answer?" the elves asked one final time.